Marky's blog. Malcolm, thank you very much for joining us today.
Yeah, it's great to see you, Catherine. Thanks very much for inviting me.
So you compiled your bucket list of stocks, which I think we're going to take a look at now. You did this a year ago today in December 2020.
Almost exactly. Yeah, I tried. I don't change it very much, but this time last year we'd gone through a horrible year and it needed a complete reorganization.
Shall we start by taking a look at the UK stocks?
Okay. Well, I mean, looking at the sort of the top of the list, I mean, there's an outstanding winner, of course, with Zephyr Energy, which it is only a few pence short of being a 10 bagger. It's actually at 911 at 0.79p. And it came last Friday when we did the drew the line, it was 7.2p. So if we could have just squeaked it a few cents more, as they say. But, you know, they've had obviously a major lead success at the Paradox Basin. Management has been proved to be absolutely fantastic because they've done all the things they've said they've done, apart from they made a discovery, but they've bought production assets to go with it. But the good thing about that is that for reasonable outlay, they can now guarantee that the Paradox Basin is paid for with a decent drilling program, and you know it's just been a great success. So you know, hats off to Colin and the team at Zephyr. And
anyone else that stood out there for you?
Yeah, I mean the ones who stand out, they usually are. I mean the next biggest by quite a long way was Kistos. Kistos is of course the Andrew Austin vehicle that took effectively over from Rockrose. I mean he's a previous winner in this class, or in the list to be fair, and Rockrose was taken over halfway through the year 18 months ago. And so we were just lucky because he came back to the market with Kistos just a few days before the bucket list was done, and of course he came in at 130 odd, and the shares are already £4. So you know he's done 300% in a year, and for your first year, that's not too bad. The next two are natural gas plays, and you know. I'd love to take the credit for being able to say that I knew that gas was going to go up from, you know, 50 or 40p a therm to the 400p it is today, or 300p it is today, and has been higher. But I can't do that. But it was a strong theme. I can only credit myself with that. So we have IOG, which is about to go live with its first North Sea discovery, Southern North Sea, and Serica Energy, which is also offshore Scotland. And they've both been up by about 250%. So they come into third and fourth. And so that takes your sort of, you know, your first four spaces. And interestingly, there are two other sectors, well, there's three other sectors, but the international sector, where I draw quite a lot of my favorite stocks from, actually fills up almost all the spaces in the middle ground, as you might expect it to. So PetroTal is fifth, Predator is sixth, President is seventh, Jadestone is eighth, and Genel is in 11th. So, you know, those are all stocks which have been successful in Australia for Jadestone, Peru for PetroTal. We know about Argentina for President, and you know Predator very well in Morocco and in Trinidad and in Ireland. So, you know, there have been some great successes in there. But it's worth noting that I have a yield section as well. You know, it's the first time for pretty much ever that E&P stocks were starting to come into the dividend payers list. I mean, historically, as you know, people never paid dividends from E&P companies because effectively, you know, you have to raise equity to drill holes. You don't do a drilling program on debt. So effectively, people say, why do you raise equity and then pay it back again as dividends? But the successful companies that did that were throwing off a good deal of free cash flow. And in particular, I identified diversified Energy, Genel, Wentworth, and San Leon, and all of those have seen what I would wanting to have: capital and income growth, and so they sit nicely in there when you've also got you've had a decent dividend. I mean, Diversified was yielding, still does yield about 11%. So, you know, you get a pretty good overall return. A couple of other points probably worth making is that there are two stocks in the list which are suspended at the moment, and they will reappear. So Savannah has spent quite a lot of the last few months doing two particularly big deals in Africa. They've been buying assets from Exxon and from Petronas in Chad, and Savannah has still got their big program of drilling to do in Niger. Those stocks, I mean, I'm expecting Savannah to return from suspension anytime soon, and they were suspended at 7.5p, and they could easily come in, you know, very, very near the top of the table. And San Leon may not come back till January, February, because they're doing absolutely, again, a hugely complicated deal in Africa, in Nigeria in their case. But I, you know, it wouldn't be surprised. I mean, they pay out 30% of their operating revenues but they pay out in one go. So I suspect next May it'll be a huge payout. So you know, it's worth bearing in mind that both the suspended stocks sit at the bottom because there isn't a quote on them, but I think they'll both come in quite nicely.
Marky, finally, looking at high beta stocks, which were the ones on your bucket list?
Well, the high beta stocks did just what it says on the tin. They came in at first and second. Zephyr and Kistos are both high beta in the sense that we weren't sure how it was all going to go. The others came out towards the bottom end of the range. I'm not worried about that particularly. I mean, for example, Longboat in 15th is there because they only started drilling towards the end of the year, and they've already had several successes. So they were actually dead money for probably 7 or 8 months, and therefore sat in the market, just drifted. I'm confident that Longboat will be in the top half next year. And then, of course, we had Bahamas Petroleum. I mean, there are always high beta stocks in the bucket list in order to make sure that people have got a chance to go for some, you know, some high risk stuff. And the Bahamas well didn't come in. So that was always going to be a shame, but you know, that's what people like. They want to see. And actually what's happened since then, it's had a difficult time changing itself into what's now called Challenger Energy. But Eitan Uriel, the new CEO, is very good indeed. And he's just announced a completely revamping and stripping out of the costs. So going forward, Challenger is going to be an exciting play. And of course, Eco Atlantic, which has been a really fantastic play the year before, and indeed the year before that, was just held out, could do nothing because Tullow was unable to commit to drilling the well, which they were in with Total. This is you know, something that you can do nothing about. If Tullow, who is the operators, delay something, you just get delayed. I'm convinced that what with Ghana and Namibia, where there are some big wells being drilled by majors at the moment, next year will be a much better year for Eco. But they, you know, Longboat, EPC, Eco, 15th, 19th, 16th out of 20, probably won't be like that this year.
Marky, lots to look out for in the next year. Thank you very much for joining us today.
My pleasure, Catherine. Good to see you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And thank you for watching Flagstaff TV.